And welcome back to Growing Up Grieving, where grief is complicated. Humor is necessary, and speaking your griefy truth is always encouraged.
Woo!
I'm your host, Kate Meduno, and we are joined by my cousin, co-host Alyssa Ann Shepard.
Hello.
And we also have Queen Poole today. And yeah, we're going to introduce you to her, to QueenAvius, the hopeful strategist, kinship mom, grief educator, and glow-up strategist. She lost her mother, grandmother, and sister, the three foundational women in her life, and became a mom overnight, or as she calls it, a mom tea, which I love. I love
We
that.
love.
Love that. And yet she still built a life worth living. Welcome to the show, Queen.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're very happy to have you. How was your weekend, Queen? Did you do anything?
Oh, this weekend was nice. I
Yeah.
got to have some dinner with friends. Got to hang out with my niecey Pooh, of course.
Yes.
Oh, and one good thing in this mom tea's life, I got to get a mattress. I got a Nectar mattress, and I set it up today. And yeah, I'm looking forward to good sleep quality.
I love that. I feel like Alyssa and I were just talking about, like, weren't you just saying this, Alyssa? Like,
We were
like the
just
things you
talking-
reward yourself with as an adult are like replacing the carpet.
Yep, new
Or-
carpet.
New pots and pans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Things that are going to keep us alive.
Yeah, no, that's definitely that's good. I love that. Home improvement. It's kind of like the fall season too. I feel like I don't know. It's time to like do that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Even thinking of painting.
Let go of old things and bring in new things.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Well, we're very excited to have you on the show today, Queen. You kind of remind Alyssa and I in a little bit way of our cousin, because she became a mom tea as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm really excited to hear your story though from your perspective. And so why don't we flip it over to you, and you can just kind of tell us about yourself, introduce yourself to our listeners, and talk about what you've been doing. So you've been doing some good things online too, and for the grief community, and just I feel like a positive person. You just always have like nice things to say. If you guys watch her on the socials, she's really positive. Yeah. So take it away, Queen. Tell us about you.
Awesome. Again, thank y'all so much for having me.
Of course.
Like I was telling Alyssa before we got started, I recently started listening to you all, and I enjoy all your episodes. I started listening to the new one this morning, planning on finishing it tomorrow.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you for creating this space where, people can tell the truth about grief. It's a sad topic, but it's necessary, right? It's gonna happen to all of us. And so we need more spaces where we can just tell the truth about how death really sucks, and, how to move beyond it. But we have our days, we have our moments, and it does live with us forever. So again, thank you all for this opportunity.
I know. You're welcome. We're so happy to have you. My God. Yes.
So yeah, like Kate said, I'm QueenAvius, and my grief story, I could say it started, I have probably quite a few entry points. The first time that I remember in my childhood losing someone was my childhood friend who drowned. And I remember seeing him on the news. I was sitting in my parents' bed, and all of a sudden his picture just flashed across the television. I was like, Mom, Dad, that's so-and-so. And I remember just thinking, what do you mean he's gone? And my mom explained to me what that meant. And, the next day I didn't see him in school. And, so I do remember that vividly. Like, that was my first introduction with death.
And how old were you? What grade were you in?
I think we were in pre-K together, like pre-K or kindergarten. It was very early on. And I still remember his picture on the television screen.
Yeah.
And so, or maybe I would say it was probably first grade for sure.
That's close enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're in the wheelhouse.
And then after that, in 2008, I actually lost 15 really close people. So that was a variation of aunts, uncles, family, friends, cousins. And that was the year where I felt like, man, I was I was raised in a Christian home. Was very always have been active in the church, and my mother and father didn't attend church as much, but they sent me, and so I got to learn about the Bible and Jesus very early on. And I think in 2008 was when my faith really grew because I'd seen so much loss. But I always tell people, even with those losses, as profound and sad as they were, nothing rocked me until 2017. And that was when my mom died. Obviously, it's mom, right? So very identity shaking, very like, what the heck? And I tell that story about the day that she died. It was very interesting because I'm in DC, I live in DC, and I was doing my church's anniversary. And my mother passed away at 7 a.m. that morning, and I didn't find out till 5 o'clock that evening.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yes. My family had been calling everyone that they thought I was around me. They'd been messaging me on social media, everything, and I didn't find out until 5 that evening. And so I used to think, oh my gosh, how could I not be present for her death, right? How could I not know until hours later? But now I think of it as a moment of grace, of just, I talk to my mom every day, and I just talked to her the day before. And the last thing I said to her was, I love you, Mom. And she said, I love you, baby cake. And now I think, that was the Lord's grace in allowing me some space before I walked into a really big storm.
Yeah. So it was it an unexpected death, if you don't mind me asking?
It
Yes.
was.
Yes.
So she'd gotten sick, a couple of times in recent years. I would say 50, really, when my mom hit 50, her health really took a turn. And so I would have moments where I would visit her in the hospital, things like that, but nothing that she didn't come back from. So when I got the news, it was definitely unexpected, and everybody was shocked. So then after that, 6 months later, I call it a broken heart death. My mom was one of 12, and she was my grandmother's last child. And a lot of people in the family say that once my mom went, my grandmother went with her. And so 6 months later, my grandmother passed away that same year. And then in 2022, the grief that really changed my entire life was my sister. I only had one sister, and she passed away in May of 2022. And then I got my niece, and that is another story, like another larger, much longer story. It wasn't just because she died that I got custody of my niece. My niece was actually taken at my sister's funeral by an estranged paternal grandmother who came in with false documentation and said that he had custody of my niece.
Oh my gosh.
And obviously I'm burying my sister. I didn't bring any of the documentation or anything. So that encounter, it cost a lot, financially, emotionally, mentally, but less than 24 hours of burying my sister, I had to lawyer up. And it took me 30 days to get my niece back, but I got her back.
Oh, I got the chills. I have the chills because it's
too,
like,
actually.
right? Oh my God.
There are some questions on y'all's list where I've been deep and thought about, because I think they're so important to realize like how your grief evolves, who you become, right? Because grief changes us in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we identify certain types of deaths that take place, right? So the mom, the dad, the husband, the wife, the sister, the brother, all of those affect us in profoundly different ways. And they shift, especially those identity shaking deaths, those umbilical cord deaths, right? They shake us in so many ways that I think sometimes you don't realize. And I've spent this year in particular really just thinking about how I have changed and became someone totally different than 2017, 2016, before those things happened.
It's true. It's like your perspective changes. The way that you look at people changes. Your
Yeah.
expectations of people change. What you do, a big one was like my time. That was a huge
Yep.
one where I was like,
Hmm.
my time is so precious. And like, we have to do everything. I feel like grievers, once we kind of cycle through all that raw grief, then most people probably will like want to essentially live life with intention. Like everything is so intentional because we
Yeah.
know how much, the loss of somebody that you care about can really shake up like your entire world,
Yeah.
Yes.
Like Queen, I'd love to hear more about, your experience being a mom T, right? But I
Hmm.
can't ignore all of the loss that you have just talked about. In 2008, you lost 12 people?
15.
15. I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm a bad
Yep.
listener.
Oh,
15 people in 1 year. Like what? Uh, That's that's so much for somebody to endure. And then your mom and then your sister and all of this compound grief is like
yes.
it's hard
That.
it's hard to keep going, but
Yeah.
you've somehow done it.
Yeah. Um, I guess my somehow is definitely Jesus. There is no other way I can explain that. I think when I look back just over the years of wanting to give up, not wanting to try, not wanting to be present, not wanting to go after my goals. Um, I definitely hear my mom. She's like, you better go do what you say you're gonna do. She was a firecracker in life. So she was like, no, you're not stopping here. But also just remembering that death isn't the end. If you are a Christian and you're a believer, that my hope is that when the Lord comes back, I'll see her again. That is what I know to be true. I'll see my grandmother again. I'll see my sister again. And all of those other people I lost, I'll see them again. Um, and so I have to remind myself to keep holding on. I remember the day that the last viewing of the body during the funeral is always intense. And I walked over to my mom's body, said my goodbyes. And yeah, I remember sitting down in the pew and I just started bawling. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, 1, 15, 22, and 23. And it says, stay steadfast in the hope that you have heard in the gospel of Jesus Christ. And I know what I need to do to see them again. I need to keep believing in the Lord and I need to keep pushing on. And if there's one thing my mom has always told me, I would always say, well, maybe I should stay home. I went off for college. Maybe I should stay home. Maybe I should just stay close. Live your life, baby cake. When I was supposed to go, when I moved up to DC, I got a job right before graduation. And I was like, but are you sure you want me to go? She's like, live your life, baby cake. And so I have to remember that, right? I have to remember that life is for the living. And my mom had a wonderful life. My sister had a wonderful life. My grandmother had a wonderful life. The people I lost in 2008 had wonderful lives, and they would want me to as well. And so I think each of those things keep me going for sure.
That's
Did
beautiful.
It is. It is. Did you find that you had the opportunity to grieve when you had all these losses so close together? Or did you find that you kind of were like in fight or flight and then looking back on it like years later, you had to work it out?
Yeah.
Especially with taking on your niece as well, you know?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that you really didn't even get a chance to grieve your sister before you were fighting for her.
Right.
Yeah, quite literally.
Quite
So
literally.
yeah. With my mom, I think she obviously so overshadowed everyone. So I tell people even today, I don't feel like I grieved my grandmother.
Mm.
I talk to my cousins and we talk about her death, and I was present at her funeral. My grandmother had a much longer life than my mom. And so a part of me kind of reconciles her death with, she was getting older, much older. Her heart was failing, those kind of things, right? And so I think that helps me understand, like, I don't want to say expect it, because even as normal as death is, we don't prepare for it, we don't expect it. And I think biologically our bodies just don't accept that reality, right? And I think that's okay, actually. I don't think that we should run to desensitization when it comes to death, because it isn't how it's supposed to be. But I don't think I had time to really grieve her death, because I was just so taken out by my mom's death. And then when my sister happened, it was a little bit more, I want to say, not expected, but my sister was sick. So she passed away from kidney failure, and she'd had a long battle of kidney failure for the last 2.5 years before she died. The hope was that I could give her a kidney, but then they realized she had some heart issues. And so that didn't work out. But even when she went into the hospital the last time, I was just like, oh, she goes and she comes back. She's going to pull through. She's going to pull through. And when I got the call that she coded the night before I actually flew in town, I was like, what? What do you mean? And so when I got there, she was actually improving. For a whole week, she improved. And then that Monday, after that week, she passed away. And so being able to, in that moment, all I could think about were the kids, right? So how do I tell 3 kids that their mom is gone?
And so you took that responsibility onto yourself?
That, but also, I saw my sister take her last breath. I had to make the call to do not resuscitate her.
Oh,
And so
I'm sorry, babe.
that was, I remember standing outside the hospital room watching them resuscitate her. And I was like, this has got to be painful on her physically, right? And I just went and cried. I was like, how can I tell them not to, like, and one of my other spiritual moms, she told me, she said, you have to ask this question. And I know you don't want to, but she told me to ask the doctor, is the machines keeping her alive, or is her heart beating on her own? And when they told me that the machines were keeping her alive, I had to make the decision that she didn't need to be resuscitated at that point. And so that is a part of her grief that I think I'm still walking with her death, that I'm still walking with, because I don't think we fully understand, at least I didn't, what it means to be the person to make that kind of call. And then have to explain to those who are impacted that that's the call you had to make. Because especially with kids, they're not understanding that their mom her heart isn't beating on its own. They think you pulled the plug, you didn't give her a chance, right? And so that has been a challenging part for me to deal with.
Yeah, that's a huge responsibility. Now, how old were you when this all happened?
29.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, I think that's still so young to take on responsibility like that. You know, I always say that to Kate, and Kate's like, I wasn't that young. And I'm like, you were, though. 29 is young to be taking on those responsibilities. And,
Yeah, my mom was 53 when she died, and then my sister was 36. So those are very young.
They're very
ages
young.
to
Yeah.
think about it. Yes.
No, they are. And your sister reminds me of my mother, her kidney challenges. And even honestly, the way you're describing what happened at the end is very, very similar, Queen. It's very, very similar.
Wow.
That's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. Would you mind sharing more about how you had to transition into being Queen the mom tea. You know, again, our cousins always like I was a mom overnight, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it sounds like the same as you. How do you put us in your shoes? What was that like to be that person? Honestly.
Hmm. Yeah. So I kind of stopped abruptly in the story. Actually, the story kept going for like 2 or 3 months. um, but the day that my niece was granted to me in the court, in court, it was weird because I had already told my lawyer. I said, so I have three total, one nephew, two nieces, and my oldest two, niece and nephew, they have a father who is very present, very active in their lives. And so he was willing to take all three of the kids. He didn't want them to be split up. That wasn't my sister's wishes. She just told me to make the decision whether I take them or they go with him. So in my mind, the whole time, these 30 days, I was giving my youngest niece to reunite with her siblings. So we go to court July 1st. I am super nervous. Like my blazer is like about to pop off
Oh,
because I heard my heart beat out of my chest. And this was actually my first time dealing with anxiety. You get nervous, you get sweaty palms, those kind of things. But when I say anxiety, like I felt like there was a belt wrapped around my head. And so I'm sitting in the courtroom and I'm listening to this, the grandmother who I have never met. And I was just very confused as to why she wanted my niece because my niece didn't know her. And so I'm listening to her give this terrible depiction of my sister. And I'm thinking to myself, I hope the judge isn't believing this. And my lawyer was just like, she was phenomenal. She said, what does this have to do with this case? She does not have the right to this child. So we need to end this discussion and the child needs to be returned to her biological aunt. The judge agreed. And when he agreed, I was just like, oh goodness. Okay, great, right? She's going back to her siblings. There was some commotion in the court. The biological father was there. And he obviously didn't like the decision, but we had to leave the court pretty quickly because of that. And so we left. I was staying at an Airbnb not too far from the courthouse. And, I was preparing. I said, you're going to go back to your siblings. This is going to be, a wonderful time for you. Maybe 30 minutes later, my lawyer calls me and she's like, okay, well, don't answer your door. They could serve you with an injunction that would make you stay. You have to stay in Georgia. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about here? She's like, yeah, they want her. And we know that it's not genuinely they want to take care of her. They want the benefits that come with her. So I was like, okay, I won't answer the door. That's fine. But we're leaving tomorrow and she's going to go stay with her siblings. She said, you can't do that. And literally how I'm looking at you all is how I was looking at my best friend. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't do that? She said, you sought custody of her. So she's in your care. She has to go to DC with you.
oh my gosh! So you didn't
Okay.
even know? Like, really? Wow. It's
Okay.
divine intervention, though. Oh my gosh!
Yes, very
Holy
much so.
moly!
So it was not a thing where I had sought out to get custody of her and actually take care of her. I just wanted her to be reunited with her siblings, that I would have access to her. She would be with the only family she's ever known since she was born.
Yeah.
But, as I say, the Lord had other plans.
I guess he did.
Yes.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, she said that I had to raise her. And so I remember sending this long thesis paper to my village. And I was like, the cards have switched. Like the game has changed. I need a bed. I need this. I need that. Like I'm a single woman in DC, living my best life, doing whatever I want to do. I didn't know anything about raising a child, and so I needed to get my village. Now the good thing is I hung around a lot of married people, families, those kind of things. So I knew that they would have whether advice or physical resources. I knew that they would have it. But that was the mom tea in a matter of minutes. Like it wasn't overnight. It was in a matter of minutes that I had to make a decision. And to me, it was a no-brainer when she said that. I was in shock, but it was like, well, no, she's not going back to people she didn't know. But yeah, my life has changed. Our lives are now changed. She's a kid who all she knows is her mom and her siblings, and her auntie flies in every month, right? She didn't know anything about DC. She's the only kid that didn't make it up to DC because she was much younger when I would come and get the kids. And so she'd never been here, and she was going to move and live here with me. So it was a huge matter of minutes transition.
Wow. That's amazing. That's just I'm so happy that she ended up with you though. How has navigating grief been with a child so young?
Unpredictable.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great
So
word.
the first, yes.
Sounds like
The
grief to
first-
me.
Yeah. First couple of years, I would say the first 6 months were for the both of us. It was just very cloudy, very searching in the dark, right? Not only are we grieving this huge loss, but we're trying to learn each other. I'm also caring for my aging father who's living with us. So the dynamics in the house, yeah, the dynamics in the house is just,
Yeah.
it's all over the place, right?
Yes. Yes.
And not to mention, again, here I go telling parts of the story, but there was some retaliation. I had to go back to court because I was being accused of something I didn't do simply because I won the case to get my niece.
No, like a smear campaign.
And so that took me away from her for 3 weeks.
Oh goodness.
And you hear 3 weeks and you're like, that's not a long time. But for a child who has already lost so much, I'm placing her with people she just met. And I'm like, I have to go. And I didn't know at the time it would take 3 weeks.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know when I'll be back, but I have to go handle this. Yeah, it was crazy. There were many days on the phone with her where she's like, I want to come with you. I want to go with you. Why am I staying here? And I all I could tell her was, she was with trusted people. And I said, they love you and they care for you. And I'll be back as soon as I can. So yeah, that was a month in, that wasn't even, actually, now that I think about it, it was literally 3 weeks after she moved to DC that I had to leave her.
Oh,
and
it's just restarting the trauma for her.
Yep.
The poor.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And so that resulted in a really strong separation anxiety that we're actually dealing with till this day. In our grief therapy sessions, she would express that anytime I left and I said I didn't know when I was coming back, or if I set a time and I didn't come back at that time, she would think that I died.
Yeah, poor baby, because she's little.
Yeah. And so not understanding her feelings, her emotions, and definitely not knowing how to process them.
Or verbalize them when they're so little, It's
low-key crying over here.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I've been it's a lot of behavior. It's
Makes me so
behavioral.
sad. Yeah.
Yep. And a lot of I miss my mommy, right?
Oh,
and
of
I
course
think
she does.
the good thing in that is I can resonate, right? Because I too miss my mom, and I also miss my sister who is her mom.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is like grief is occupying our entire home at the moment, right? And so being able to do day-to-day things is just hard. Being able to compromise or reason is extremely hard when you're both grieving and you have a child who, I mean, she's a child, so she doesn't know how to process any of that or express it. And I am doing my best to implement my tools, but
You're still
it's a
trying.
lot to grieve here.
Yeah, you're still trying to figure it out. I mean,
Yes.
the
Yes.
majority of adults don't know how to grieve, you know?
Yes. Right.
So,
Yes. And then to, compound that with false accusations that result into more court cases, more money
yeah.
going out of our house. It was just,
Yeah.
the first 6 months were very chaotic. Today, I would say, or maybe within the last year, she's been going to a grief camp, and it's been helping her learn how to process her emotions, in addition to therapy. And we're learning not to flip our lid, right?
Still learning.
Yes, me too. Me too. We are learning.
Yeah, like
not
we
to
are
flip
combined.
Our lid.
Yeah.
And our triggers, right? And so I think one of the sweetest moments so far in our journey is this past Mother's Day, where she bought me a gift, and I asked her, I said, well, how are you feeling today? And she said, I just chose to be happy today.
Oh,
Oh,
Yes.
you're rubbing off
9
on
years
her.
old. Yeah.
In a
Yeah.
really good way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So she keeps me going. That's another thing that keeps me going. Because I don't believe in coincidences, I do believe that the Lord orchestrates everything in our lives. I know that she was supposed to be with me and I was supposed to be with her. And I think today, this year, I've seen that more of I'm supposed to be with her.
yeah.
Okay, so I would love to know more, Queen, honestly, about the grief camp. Just because I know you have a directory and you have your journal, and I would love to give you the opportunity to talk about it too, because it sounds like these are things that you've done with your niece and everything as well. So
Yes. So within the first year of having her, we received services from the Went Center. So shout out to the Went Center. They specialize in grief and loss and trauma. And so they were phenomenal in getting us in their program, getting us the resources we needed. Fabulous. And so we worked with the family therapist, but I also was receiving individual therapy, and so was my niece. And I was looking for something for her to do over the summer. And my therapist said, well, we have grief camps. And I said, oh, well, what's that? And she sent me a link. And she also sent me links to other ones that were in the area. I said, oh, this looks great. And I showed it to my niece, and she said, oh, yes, I'd love to go. And it's away. So she's like, she's okay with going away. Me, on the other hand, I was like, wait a minute. I send her away all the time, but it's not with people I don't know, right?
Right.
It's like, you're right down the street at your cousin's house. It's not you're an hour away and I don't know what you're doing or who you're hanging out with. And so I said, okay, I thought about it. I prayed about it. I asked my village. I said, okay, she needs to go. She needs this, right? And, I did things to prepare her for her first time being away with people she didn't know and all of those things. And I dropped her off, and I kid you not, the people that I met, I don't know, I felt safe. I felt like she was in good hands. And that weekend transformed her, but also her contact with particularly her big buddy is what they call them. She said she is such a sweet little girl. And she said she has really touched my heart. And I asked her, I said, well, did you enjoy it? She said, yes. And this year, she literally just came back from grief camp a week ago. And she loves it. It's her
she
place.
likes going now.
She loves going. And now I've seen a change in her. So the first year, she was very much, receiving the services, receiving the love and things like that. This year, I watched her, one of her friends broke down in the end of the camp ceremony, and she was there comforting her and praying with her. And I was just like, oh my gosh, she's learned so much. She's grown, and, yeah, I have grief camp and grief therapy to thank for that.
That's
Yeah, that's
incredible.
awesome.
That's such a
Mhm.
great service, especially for kids to be able to be
Yes.
around other kids, and it's teaching them tools to help comfort, their peers. And
Hmm.
I mean, I think that's just so great.
Yeah. And to be in one space where you do not have to be ashamed to say, my person is no longer here, right?
Right.
Um,
Because
being
everybody
able
has
to
someone who's
see,
gone.
yes, and being able to see that this didn't just happen to you. It's happening to other people your age. And I think that's important. I remember the first year when my mom passed. I had stumbled across a Mother's Day event, and they do it every year on the National Mall, where they tell you to write your mom's name down, and they put a tea light inside a paper bag, and it's called a luminary event. And that was just such a special moment. And I remember writing a reflection post where I said, I'm sad that there's a community for grief, but I'm happy there's a community for grief, right? Because no one should have to go through any of this alone. And she doesn't. From an early age, she knows, like, I'm not alone in this. If I need to talk to someone other than my auntie, I can call my friend I met at grief camp and talk to them about the things that I'm feeling. And I really love that for her.
Yeah, it's so like healthy and happy. I mean, even as adults, some grief is not always safe,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why we're here, because we're
Hmm.
trying to,
Right.
Yeah.
open doors. And you almost feel embarrassed or ashamed sometimes if you've
Yeah.
lost someone and you don't feel safe talking about them. So
Hmm.
to have that confidence instilled in these children at such a young age, I mean, they're gonna fly, baby.
Yes. Yes.
They're gonna do some really great
Yes.
things in the future, hopefully. Put
Yes.
it all
That is
out
my
there, you
yes.
know?
For that is definitely my hope, because I know, particularly, being a Black woman, being in the Black community where violence is a thing, right? But also the taboo-ness around death is also a thing too, right? We're not sitting in our grief. We're just talking about going to therapy for things, and it not being something where you're like, oh, why would you do that, right? It's Black millennials and Generation Z, and they're taking this and running with it
Uh,
because we realize, like, we cannot do anything without tools. We can't get through all the things that life has handed us without tools. And I think particularly Black kids really need that. And so that's why I created my grief directory. I had kids like my niece in mind, because on the flip side, I'm actually living in a kind of, I guess, double double reality, is that she's getting the tools, she's going to grief camp, but her siblings aren't, right? And so being able to talk about their mom, I noticed early on, was like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. And I know they need to talk about it. We all need
yes.
to talk about it at that point, and we need to
Yeah.
know we're safe to talk about it. But if you aren't in that environment that encourages that, you won't do it. You'll think, okay, this is just something I need to get through by myself and move on. And that's so unhealthy, because later on in life, we realize, like, a lot of things are tied to that. A lot of the behaviors, a lot of things we do are tied to those pivotal moments where our person left us. And if we are not processing that, so many things can happen.
Yeah. What a great example, honestly, for your niece, because you're honestly teaching her all of these tools young.
Yeah.
Even going to grief camp is a tool, like you said, and
Yeah.
she's learning it now. And I hadn't, you brought up how her siblings aren't, in the same house, so they're not getting the same tools. It
Yeah.
would be interesting to see it as she ages, if she shares those tools, or even now if she tries to share them with her siblings, because you're honestly just continuing to teach, you know.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. It's funny. We did our trip. We do an annual trip. We do a little, like, small trips throughout the year, but we have this big annual trip where me and my best friend, she brings her kids, and then I bring my nieces and my nephew, and they all hang out. They all grew up together, so they're very familiar with each other. And my niece, my youngest niece, is like, I want to go see mommy's grave. And her siblings are like, oh, I don't want to do that. And so, even in that, it's different. You can see that, again, the openness, and that's what I really want to promote, is because it's so common. We all need to have a space to talk about it. And not just a space, we need to freely be able to talk about the things that hurt us, and that includes death, right? And even in that, I saw the difference of they're still not ready. 3 years later, they're still not ready to talk about it.
And they haven't,
or they don't have the opportunity to talk about it, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
They haven't been given the tools. It hasn't been something that has felt safe for them.
Yep.
So they're just going to stuff it way down, and it is going to be a later in life stuff they have to work through, All right, let's ask another question here.
See, yeah, we just do this, Queen.
We're
like, it is hard, right? It's hard to talk about. It's so important,
like
and it's weird to articulate your life like in this way, I think, isn't it? To be able to be like to be like, yeah, this happened to me. I feel like is so empowering, and also like, what did I just say? That's my life.
Yeah.
Like you just have a moment where you're like, this really did happen.
Yes, all this happened.
Yes.
Yeah. Are we? Am I okay? Are we all okay?
Right.
We're here. We're podcasting, baby.
Am I even supposed to be talking about this?
No kidding. No, but you are. You are.
And that's grief. That's the stigma of grief, right?
Yeah.
Is that we're talking about it. We know it's healthy.
Right.
And yet we're like, what? What?
I mean, putting yourself out there and being vulnerable is also, something that's scary.
Yeah.
As well. Yeah. Although you present very well. So
Thank you. Well,
yeah, you
I've
do.
had a lot of moments of not presenting well.
Yeah.
Right?
We all do,
Yeah, a lot of moments of that ugly grief, that falling on the floor, like, what is my life right now? What do you mean you took my mom, right? Like, and being angry. And honestly, I am a proponent, and I tell everyone, my friend lost her mom to COVID back in 2020. And I told her, she was like, I just, I don't want to get mad. I'm like, get mad. It's okay.
Feel all the feelings.
Yes, feel your feelings.
Anger's a big one.
Yeah, and reminding her she's also a Christian, like the Lord he's not afraid of your feelings, and he's big enough to hold them. And I think that's important that everyone know, like, you cannot stuff what you're really feeling. This hurts. This is hard. And so it needs to be met with the same type of gravity that it has delivered, because death is final. It is a thing where, I mean, it's not like we can wake up tomorrow and say we wish this person was here again, right? Like, and they actually be there. No. It is a thing where they don't come back, and so being able to wrestle with that level of finality, you gotta dig deep, and you gotta just let it out. And so I'm a proponent of screaming. I'm a proponent of whatever it is you need to do.
Absolutely.
I love to scream in the car.
Yes.
It's a great place to do it. You can also like drum on the steering wheel, and then like,
right.
Yes.
I tell my niece that, I'm like, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
We have our moments of grief regularly in our house because, everyone's grieving. My dad is grieving the loss of my dad's 80, so he's seen a lot of people, a lot of loss. And so he is grieving, but he's grieving most recently the loss of his wife. Me and my sister didn't share the same dad, but he was like a dad to her too. He was her stepdad. And so grieving that loss, and then my niece, and then me, right? So I think everybody's grieving but the cat, and that's because he doesn't realize what has happened, the gravity of what's happened.
Right.
It's a cat. I mean, I have
Um,
a cat. Alyssa has cats. Cats
oh,
are
we
just
love
like,
cats.
cats. They're just snobs.
Yeah,
They're just like, whatever.
right. He's like, I got
I'm a
9
cat.
lives, so
No kidding, right? He's like, I'm not
Yeah.
worried about you.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
All right. What is something about grief that has surprised you
Dun dun dun.
on this journey?
Yeah. I would say how it can change in any given moment. Like 1 minute you could be looking at a photo and you remember the memory related to that photo, and then all of a sudden you're just bawling, right? And if you're with someone, they're like, well, what's going on here? It's like, this is grief, right? It's unpredictable. It does not have a form or fashion that it stays in. It's just here, and it's going to let you know that it's here. And it just changes in every moment. And so I would say I was not prepared for the waves of grief. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was surprising for me.
Yeah, I think
It
I
is.
think
It still
anybody
happens.
who has grieved can relate to that. Absolutely, the waves,
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to somebody who's struggling with grief?
I would say a couple of things. Be patient with yourself. This is for the long haul. And the more you can acknowledge that, sit in that, and realize like you don't have anything to prove. This is hard, and it's supposed to be hard, right? So be patient with yourself, sit in it, and realize that it is what it is. as we hear commonly, it truly, grief is what it is. And then the second thing I would say is hold on, because it won't consume you. And I know that's hard in the moment. I have had, and I've recently had moments where I just thought this thing is about to consume me. But if you hold on, it won't. And there are people around you. One of my moms I mentioned earlier, she is 72 and she lost her mom at 19. And every time I see her, I am reminded that there is a life past 32. There's a life past 36, 53. And if I hold on, I can get there. So, yeah, those
That's
are my
great
2
advice.
things. Mm-hmm.
It really is.
It is great advice because it's so, it's when you're in raw grief and even grief after a year or 2 years. I mean, sometimes you just look in the mirror and you're like, when is this going to get better? Because once again, here come the waves, right?
The waves.
So I mean, that's such great advice. Just keep holding on, just keep pushing through, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And
That's a good
you're in the
one.
grief space. You're used to talking about it, but you're not, just like us, because
Yeah.
we talk about it. I talk about it. I think of grief every day of my life.
Every day.
And it's like it still knocks you off your feet, right?
Yep.
Like that's what you reminded me of when you were talking.
Yeah. I think about that with my dad, right? Because I still have a parent. And if things go the way, I don't want to say they should go. This is so weird to frame this way, right? I feel like I have this conversation.
I know what you're saying.
But yeah, like your parents' hope is that you would bury them and not them burying you, right? And so I think about that. It's like the anticipation of that moment. And I've already resolved that you're not going to know how you feel. You're going to feel it all because that's your parent, right? And so there are some things where you just have to come to terms with. It's going to be a moment of grief. It's going to be moments of grief, and it's going to hit hard. But there are moments of stability and joy even in that, right? I have been here before, although I don't know what it's going to look like. but it does make me think like, who will I be then? Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely think that my relationship with my dad after, and I think Kate can attest to this too, like after you lose your mom, you
Yeah.
do, or it could be either or, you know what I mean? You really intentionally spend time
Yes.
with
Yes.
with your parent that is still around because you
Yeah.
know that time is short, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so
I find myself recording my dad. I told I told my friend, I said, anything he's doing, I'm recording it. She's
That's
like, why are
me.
you being such a weirdo? And I'm like, because I
Be
know,
weird.
like, I literally had a moment, you guys, where 2 weeks ago, I was on the floor, and this is what I mean by grief can change in the moment. I was looking at something, and I was just scrolling through my phone, and then all of a sudden, I had this thought of, my mom is getting farther and farther away from me. Like it just hit me. And I'm like, I don't know if I remember her voice anymore. And I just start bawling. And then, I calm down in my first wave and I say, oh, but I have her voicemails. And I proceed to go pull up her voicemails and I start to listen to them. And I said, oh, okay, I do remember her voice now. And I was able to calm myself, soothe myself with those voicemails. But yes, I think sometimes when you've been in here, like 8 years, April made 8 years for me losing my mom. And I was 29 then, or excuse me, 24 then. I'm 32 now. And so she doesn't know 30-year-old, well, she would call me baby cake. She doesn't know 30-year-old baby cake. I have this running joke with one of my moms. She says, if your mom were to come back today, she wouldn't know who Queen was.
oh. Oh,
I
she would
totally get
know.
that
She
though.
would
Oh yeah, she
know.
would know. She's been watching this whole time being like clapping, hello, are you kidding me?
Like, you
Yeah.
think she's gonna come and look for Queen? No, she's gonna look for baby cake.
Yeah.
I can relate to that so much. Even your
Yeah.
nickname of baby cake, my family called me baby Kate. So like there's
Wow.
so many like little similarities in your
Yes.
story that are like just giving me the feels, Queen. Like whoa, so
Wow.
many things. I don't know. It's just really. And my
It's
mom
not a
also died in
coincidence.
2017. We just hit 8 years in
Mm,
August. So
yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
similarities.
Yeah.
But I'm always like excited when people have somebody has died, which I'm not
Yes.
okay. I'm
I
not
know.
excited
I
about that.
know.
But
It's
you know what
like,
I
but
mean? I'm
you've
like,
lost someone.
what? My mom's been dead
Yes.
8 years. High five,
Right. We made it. We can't do a high five. We're making it.
Right.
Yeah, we're definitely getting through it.
Dead
Yes.
Moms Club.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's
Yes.
us. We have one last question for you, and then we're gonna play a little game.
Okay.
So the last question we have for you is, what does growth in grief mean to you, if anything?
So I think it's funny because we had to reschedule this, and if we would have done the original date, I wouldn't have this example.
There you go.
But
Another thing,
now
another
I do.
synchronicity.
Yes. I am actually, quote unquote, graduating from grief therapy at the end of this month. Yes,
Congratulations.
yes, I do. And I will give myself a hand clap because it's been 3 long years, but it's been 8 long years, right? It's been all the years that I've shared in the beginning um, of loss, right? And holding that. And even though I say that, it's like that loss and holding it doesn't go away because I'm graduating. But the person I am today versus the person I was those years ago, she now has tools, right? She can almost see the moments when they come. But even if she can't see them, she can manage them better. And yeah, I think that's growth, right? That's understanding
Definitely.
like we're never going to be okay with this. We're never going to I'm not a believer of time heals all. No, that doesn't work for me. But I'm learning how to carry it. I'm learning how to shift it over on this side of my back, shift it over on there, or sometimes I got to bring it around and put it on my hip, right? um, Growth is learning how to carry, walk, and, as my mom said again, live your life with these empty seats. And yeah, I think being able to talk about it is just proof that, there's growth there. I remember one time I was asked to give a testimony for the women's retreat at my church, and mid testimony, I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
bawling. And today I can sit here and share all these things, and I'm like, okay, there's a little break in my voice, a little tear in my eye, but I'm getting through it. I can finish
Working
the
through
story.
it.
Yes, we're moving
Yes,
through.
Talking
and
about your favorite people,
Yeah,
right?
So you're gonna be, like you
yeah.
said, like you're gonna have feelings about it,
Yes,
And I think
and so
yeah,
go ahead.
you get like a little bit more comfortable crying too. You're like,
Yes,
I'm crying right now.
yes,
Here we go.
And you're
Everybody
like,
jump
okay,
on.
yes.
let
Because
the waves
it
crash.
does happen sometimes, but the more
It does.
it happens, the more you can
Right.
work through it, right?
Work on through it.
Yeah,
And I think
definitely.
people need to see that, right? I think my niece,
Yeah.
right? She needs to see, like, I am what my spiritual mom is to me. I am that for her. It's like my auntie's 32 and she's living without her mom, right? She's living without her sister and her grandma. So I think I can make it to 32. I want her to have that hope that she can make it because she sees me and beyond, right? And then she can grab somebody else and grab someone else. And so, yeah, that's what growth is for me. It's being able to maneuver and shift and, allow the waves to come, but again, not letting them consume you,
Yeah.
and being able to bring people along through their own grief journey.
I love it. You
Yeah.
have been fabulous, Queen. The
Yes.
insight's amazing. And I'm telling you, there's other people who are out there who are in the same position as you.
I am looking for them. Yes, I am.
Yeah. That's what's wild. Why don't we switch it up then? Why don't we switch it up? We're almost at the end of the show.
Yes.
We're gonna play Speak Your Grief Your Truth. I'm like, got the bag.
Ooh.
Oh. Okay, so guys, Speak Your Grief Your Truth. This is a segment where I am gonna draw you two little questions out of this bag. They're thought-provoking, grief-related questions, okay? And the goal is to add a little levity while encouraging reflection, helping us explore grief from fresh and unexpected angles. So let's see what we got.
All right.
I always get nervous.
Take it
Okay, this could be good or bad. I don't know. What food would your person, and your person could be anybody who is left, right? What would they absolutely haunt you for screwing up? Any dishes?
Oh, yes.
Okay, see? We got something good. So what dish and who?
Oh my goodness. So my mom, fabulous cook, was a fabulous cook. Both my parents, my dad loves cooking now and he's really good at it. And I remember both of them tag teaming cooking in our household. But my mom, phenomenal at her club sandwiches.
Ooh.
She made club sandwiches for my whole entire grade one year in middle school.
That's dedication.
Yes. We woke up at like 2:00 in the morning. We were making club
No way.
sandwiches.
Oh gosh.
With the little toothpicks?
Yes, toothpicks and everything.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I could say so many other dishes, like her macaroni and cheese and her macaroni tuna salad. She would, like, if she could come out of her grave, she'd be like, "Don't you mess this up." But
I love that.
the club sandwiches were her thing. It was like,
And you have a memory of that from you guys doing together.
Yes.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And so she would definitely be like, if you don't know what you're doing, do not make these.
That's really funny. I feel like I want to give you another one. What's the most absurd thing someone has said to comfort you?
Oh.
Is there anything? I know, huh?
To comfort. Mm.
Or I guess it could also just like, did anybody say anything that kind of like made you like, oh, no.
Things not to say.
Yeah.
I have plenty of those, unfortunately.
Oh no.
So I'll give you two. Few days after my mom passed away, very heated family discussion. But one of my aunts, love her to this day. Sorry, Auntie Carolyn, but I'm gonna say it. Yeah, she told me I needed to get over my mom's death.
Oh my
A
goodness.
couple of days after?
Yep, I need to get over it.
Woman, give your girl
Oh my
some
God.
grace here. Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
She told me I needed to get over it.
Auntie Carolyn. Savage. What a savage.
Was that her sister? Out of curiosity?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Queen.
Yeah.
Well, all
Well, that's
right.
I can
not
talk
nice.
about it now, but obviously in the moment. And it did take me some time, I will say, to be back in relationship with her. So I can laugh about it today, but it definitely wasn't last.
You know, and you
Yeah.
just never know why
You just never
people
know.
say the things that they say sometimes. So sometimes it is like
Yeah.
not in the right context or
But that's the growth, right? That you can look back and you can laugh at it now.
Yeah.
It's funny
Yeah.
now. But at the time, it was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the second one, it's more common. It's not egregious, but I think people don't know what to say, so they think this is what you're supposed to say. I understand.
Yes, that's when we talked about, because they
Yeah.
don't, right?
No. And even to a degree of when you have similar losses, we don't know what our person was to each of us. And so to say you understand would be admitting to some of those things that you just don't know. And so I when I'm comforting someone, that's one thing I don't say. So I understand. It irritates me when someone tells me that. It's like, no, you don't.
No, that's good. That's a
I know
really
you
good
want
one.
to, and I get it, but you don't.
Yeah. No, that's a good one too.
Yeah.
Well, we're just at the top of our show, Queen. It has been amazing to hear from you. You are a light in its like yourself. I can
Aw,
only
thank
imagine
you.
your niece. Well, I mean, you do share little things with her on the socials. I've seen she's adorable. And
she is
just
so
reminds
cute.
me of you. Like she's
And
just
I
like
saw her
happy like
pink
you.
room.
Oh yes, her Barbie and Hello Kitty themed room has finally come together.
I love that. I love that. You're doing a
Yes.
great job. And one thing we didn't ask you was what is your website so that people could get your resources, your camp directory and
Yes. So I'm predominantly on the socials right now. I don't have an official website just yet, but it's coming. If you go to my Instagram or my TikTok, there is a Stand Store link in there, and it has everything that you need. You can get the grief directory, which is free, my grief journal, which I didn't plug here, but it's available. Walking with Grief Daily, and it's a journal for those who you need a companion. You need to process those feelings, those daily feelings of grief. And I thought the person that I had in mind was me when I first experienced my mom dying, and just not knowing how to verbalize, not knowing how to put into words, and not really wanting to talk to people who haven't experienced that type of loss. And so that's who the journal is in mind for, but it's for anyone. You can be right there. Your loss could have happened today, yesterday, or you could be 15, 20 years in. It's for anyone throughout their grief journey.
that's awesome. I can only
Yes.
imagine
And
it's
on
going to be.
Instagram,
Oh,
I'm
go ahead.
QueenAvius at
Yes.
QueenAvius, and same thing with TikTok. And then I just started a YouTube channel.
Oh, you did?
Yes, the Hopeful Strategist. So look out for episodes on there. I'll be going into deep diving about rebuilding your life. One of the video about the room coming together is the start of my rebuild series, where I'll be talking about, moving from grief to glow up, essentially, and how that looks different. It's not like what we think about when we talk about glow up, but, everyday moments of taking a moment and remembering your person, but also remembering the life, like the life that they lived and how they would want you to live that life too, like live your life. And so, yeah, that's what my YouTube channel will focus on. And I also have a new product coming called the Kinship Academy, where I'll be doing a course on how to navigate kinship care in crisis. So when you're responding to a crisis like the loss of a loved one, or maybe someone in your family needs you to take their kids while they get treatment, I'll be walking you. It's a 12-module course of walking those people through how to get through that and what resources they need to plug into.
That's awesome. That's
Yes.
really going to help some people. Honestly, I really think so.
I hope so. That's my hope.
That's amazing. You're amazing.
Oh,
Right?
thank you. You guys are amazing. We're all amazing. Doing
all
this life
amazing.
without our moms and our
I
people.
know.
It's
Yeah.
rough. Our moms, our dads. It's rough. Not having that parental, guidance and love and care and the cheerleading. We lose so much when we lose our people. And I think, that's something that I don't feel like is talked about enough. Like there should definitely be a support group that covers every area once you've lost your parents in particular.
I know.
Mhm.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
The hardest thing is that like nobody else could ever, follow in their foot. They can't fill their footsteps. You know what I mean? They're
No, yes.
irreplaceable. So like
Yes.
we're not, but yes, I do agree having having a support team that is going to make the transition like a lot better too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And I think talking to different people, like Queen, when would I have ever talked to you? Like, I don't mean that in a weird
Yeah.
way, but like,
Yeah.
when would all three of us get
I
together to talk
know.
about this? And I love that that's one of the things that, I don't know, grief brings us together. It sounds so corny, but it really does. And I just, I
but
don't know.
it's
I
also
just love that.
it's interesting that you guys found each other because I do think you have
Yeah.
a lot of similarities
We
into
really
your
do.
story.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Queen, it's been amazing to have
Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you. And everybody, that is our show. Go follow Queen, go watch her shows and support her YouTube channel because she's awesome. And we're going to talk to everybody and we'll see you next time, basically. So bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.